It wasn't a broadcast, a news flash, or even a warning. It was a memo, short, unceremonious, and stamped in bold red across the top. Sector 34B19, Sol System, has been awarded the Intergalactic Hazard Rating. Class X, most terrifying planet. The room went silent. Dozens of species, diplomats, military observers, and planetary safety auditors stared at the single line of text like it had grown fangs. Counselor Rello of the Bentari Hive muttered, "X? That's extinction level." Counselor Thurn of the Malari Confederation tilted his eye stalks. "Last time we rated a world class X, it exploded within a week. But Earth hasn't even left its orbit," someone shouted. "They haven't colonized a single moon. Why now?" The answer was buried deeper in the attached file, which began with a single line. Recent unauthorized scan reveals anomaly cluster exceeding safe galactic thresholds. It started with a mistake. A board intern at the Vorten Cartography Guild had run a deep scan diagnostic across the Terran biosphere, trying to impress a superior with a revised ecological mapping. The scan wasn't supposed to penetrate atmospheric defenses, but Earth didn't have any, so the scan went through, and what it found set off every alarm the Council had. The first red flag? Flora that produced toxins capable of dissolving Class 3 exoskin. Plants, flowers, bushes that dripped acid, and vines that triggered neural seizures in species with more than 2 cerebellums. One vine in particular, marked as kudzu, had taken over entire ecosystems and suffocated every other plant around it. Pure biological warfare. The second red flag? Fauna. Earth's apex predators weren't just numerous, they were redundant. Wolves, bears, sharks, crocodiles, big cats, venomous snakes, spiders, parasitic wasps, microscopic bacteria that could wipe out a civilization. And all of this coexisted with the dominant species. And then the dominant species itself, humans. Counselor Vell of the Sciari Accord read the report out loud. Subject: Homo sapiens. Behavior: unpredictable, violent tendencies, emotional instability, obsessive curiosity. Social traits: tribalism, warfare, weapon development pace exceeding ethical thresholds. Physical traits: pain endurance, adaptive biology, heightened aggression under stress. They were nicknamed Earthlings, but after this, the name didn't feel right. They weren't just survivors, they were enthusiasts. They didn't just live in hostile environments, they chose them. Some built homes in frozen wastelands. Others trekked across burning deserts. One of the file's most disturbing entries: a group of humans had voluntarily climbed the deadliest mountain on the planet multiple times, just to say they did it. The humans even categorized their own disasters into scales: hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes. Instead of leaving, they measured the destruction, rebuilt, and dared nature to try again. One counselor asked, "What do they call this behavior?" The answer was chilling: resilience. The data piled on. A video archive showed humans engaging in something called boxing, where they punched each other in the face repeatedly for entertainment. Others strapped themselves to thin boards and hurled down snow-covered mountains at deadly speeds. Counselor Vesh of the Maraxi clicked his claws. They simulate near-death experiences for fun. The room fell into a deeper silence when the cultural analysis came on screen. Human art celebrated suffering. Their fiction glorified conflict. Their films featured planet-wide catastrophes, zombie outbreaks, apocalyptic invasions, and people enjoyed watching them. Their most common phrase across languages wasn't love or peace. It was, "Bring it on." Worse still, humans had developed nuclear weapons within 100 years of industrialization and used them before meeting any other species. According to one analyst, they invented extinction technology before spaceflight. Still, the question remained: why now? What had pushed Earth over the edge into most terrifying planet territory? Counselor Dren, whose species specialized in risk assessment, pulled up the final piece of evidence: a low-bandwidth signal, intercepted recently from one of Earth's oldest space probes, Voyager 1. The signal had been drifting through space for centuries, and the translation AI had only now decoded the attached audio. The voice was human, calm, friendly, possibly male, and it said, "If you're hearing this, it means we've reached out into the universe. We don't know if anyone's out there, But if you are, we hope you're friendly. But if you're not, just know, we won't go down without a fight." The room froze. A primitive species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel had already prepared a message for enemies. Counselor Rello buzzed her wings nervously. What species prepares for war before they meet an enemy? Counselor Thurn didn't blink. One that expects a fight. After hours of silent debate, the council voted unanimously. Earth had earned the title. Most terrifying planet. And not because of its technology. Not because of its military. Not even because of its weapons. Because of its attitude. The humans were calm in chaos. Cheerful in danger. Curious in the face of extinction. A race that laughed at death and called it Thursday. Counselor Vell looked around the chamber. We don't declare war on them. We don't visit them. We don't acknowledge them. Earth stays dark. Agreed. Everyone agreed. No messages. No probes. No contact. Earth was to be quarantined. But as the council disbanded, a small alert popped up on the master terminal. A transmission, coded in an ancient Earth programming language called Morse, was detected coming from a deep space listening station on Earth. The content was short. 5 words. "We heard you. We're coming." The crash wasn't supposed to happen. The Caroan scout vessel, Vela 4, was equipped with the best cloaking and silent glide technology in the quadrant. Its crew was trained, careful, and paranoid. But Earth had a way of making even certainty look like hubris. A solar flare they didn't detect, a gravimetric anomaly they didn't predict, and a flock of metallic feathered birds that confused their landing sensors. Within seconds, the ship spun out of control and landed in a forest of towering oxygen-exhaling plants with leaves sharp enough to cut flesh. Pilot Aaron barely survived the impact. His exosuit hissed and cracked under the atmospheric pressure. The air was thick, the gravity harsh, and the heat unbearable. "Status," he choked. "Ship damaged. Cloak offline. Emergency beacon disabled. Hull integrity at 21%, replied the onboard AI. Aaron groaned. "Planet classification? Deathworld. Hazard index, maximum. Perfect." The crew of 4 knew the protocol. Observe quietly. Avoid contact at all costs. Collect samples for 3 cycles, and retreat. That plan died as soon as their ship did. Now, they had a new mission. Survive. They ventured out in shifts. Botanist Lai wore triple-filtered lenses, but still went half-blind from sunlight. Her first sample, a seemingly harmless green vine, sprayed her with microscopic darts that burrowed into her suit and began dissolving the outer layer. "It's a plant," she gasped, stumbling back into the ship. "It has offense systems." Biologist Dreel nearly drowned in what humans call a river. Not because of the current, but because something grabbed his leg and dragged him under. The creature was later identified as a snapping turtle. Dreel's translator recorded him shouting, "It smiled while trying to eat me." Every inch of Earth tried to kill them. The sky pelted them with water, so dense it jammed their communicator. The soil hid insects that bit, stung, or injected. Even the wind carried allergens potent enough to send one crew member into respiratory shock. That night, something howled. They didn't know if it was canine, avian, or something in between. But it was close, and it kept circling. Then came the human. He arrived at sunrise. Average height, average build, wore no armor, carried no weapon. He looked like a non-threat until he picked up the fallen debris from their ship and inspected it like a toy. His breath visible in the cold, he muttered, "Weird-looking drone." They froze inside the ship. He was too close. The AI whispered, "Protocol breach. Primary species contact imminent." Before they could act, the human knocked on the hull. Knocked, like he was borrowing sugar. They watched the external feed as he tilted his head. "Anybody home?" he asked, cheerful. "You guys from MIT?" He didn't see the thermal camera watching him, didn't notice the silent shriek from inside the ship. He just walked around the perimeter, crouched next to a vent, and said, "This insulation's crap. You should use carbon foam panels." Lai whispered, "He's evaluating our engineering." He didn't stop there. The man set up a small camp near the ship, started a fire using sticks and friction, and made a crude shelter out of nylon and aluminum poles. "Looks like you're stuck too," he said toward the ship. "Don't worry. Weather's cold, but survivable. Coyotes might visit. Just don't feed him." He stayed for 2 nights. They watched him jog in the morning, melt snow for water, and trap his own food. When a raccoon entered his camp, he shouted, "Hey," and threw a shoe. The raccoon hissed and backed off. The human laughed. "Try again tomorrow, buddy." Aaron was baffled. He's laughing at a predator. The second night, the man told stories to the fire. Not to anyone, just aloud. Stories about being in the mountains as a child, camping with his father, surviving frostbite during a storm. "Nearly lost a toe," he said, showing a scar. "Good times," Driel muttered. He bonded with trauma. They had seen warrior species before. The Nurai bathed in lava. The Rejik consumed poison to harden their gut walls. But none of them did it casually. None told jokes about it. None found joy in the near-death. By the third morning, the man packed up. Before leaving, he reached into his bag and left a granola bar on the ship's wing. "You folks figure out that insulation. Stay warm. This planet's a beast." He walked away whistling. They didn't move for an hour. The team gathered around the granola bar like it was a bomb. Driel scanned it. High calorie, dense, long shelf life. Could feed a small crew for 2 days. Lai said, "He gave us food." "No," Aaron corrected, "he gave us aid. Without knowing who we are, or if we're dangerous." They uploaded the footage to the ship's damaged uplink. The council needed to see it. Every second of it. Not just for the engineering analysis, or the wilderness skills, or the immunity to fear, but for what happened next. On the fourth night, a second human arrived. Younger, lost, injured. The man had given him directions and food, told him to find warmth, then left alone. No questions, no reward. Just instinct. Help first, worry later. Lai said it best. "They aren't fearless," she whispered. "They're used to fear." Earth wasn't just terrifying because of its storms or its animals. It was terrifying because of the species that thrived in it, that chose to stay, that helped strangers, that laughed at danger. And when death came for them, they didn't run. They got back up. When the crew finally managed to repair enough systems to launch, they left silently. But the damage was done. Earth wasn't a mystery anymore. It wasn't a primitive planet to ignore. It was a sleeping dragon, and someone had just poked it. The Montari Empire didn't believe in warnings. They were a proud species, evolved on a high-gravity world with oceans of methane and volcanoes that never slept. To them, strength wasn't just a trait. It was a law. So when the Galactic Council released its updated danger index and declared Earth the most terrifying planet, the Montari laughed. "Terrifying?" growled Commander Jorik of the Montari Vanguard. "They haven't even left their system." The other generals nodded in agreement. To call a primitive race terrifying was an insult to every empire that had conquered, expanded, and enslaved in the name of dominance. Earth, they said, must be tested. Not studied, not feared, tested. So they sent a recon squad, 5 elite operatives trained in infiltration, abduction, and planetary extraction. Their orders were simple: capture a specimen, analyze it, and broadcast to the galaxy that Earth's horror was exaggerated nonsense. They chose a remote drop zone near the northern pole. Satellite analysis had shown minimal human activity. No military, no radar coverage. Snow, mountains, darkness. Perfect. Except it wasn't remote. It was a test site. The Montari landed in the outer perimeter of what humans called Fort Wendigo, a special operations training ground used during winter survival rotations. The temperature was sub-zero, the wind cut like glass, and the first thing they saw was a man cutting a hole in a frozen lake, bare-chested. Montari operative Craig watched through the thermal lens. "He's swimming." "No protective gear?" asked another. "No thermal suit." The man climbed out of the water, shaking his head like a wet beast, then dropped into the snow and began doing push-ups. Jorik barked, "Observe only. Engage after dark." But they didn't make it a dark. 2 hours later, their cloaking field shorted out because of the magnetic interference caused by Earth's natural auroras. One by one, their suits began flickering, brief glimmers revealing outlines where there should be none. The man in the snow spotted them instantly. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He stood. "You guys part of the new winter drill?" he called out, stepping forward. "Those are some next-gen suits." Jorik hesitated. "What language is he using?" "Terran Standard. English variant." "Ow. He thinks we're actors," muttered Craig. Before they could respond, a second human arrived, riding what appeared to be a snowmobile made of scavenged military parts. "Hey Jack, these guys with you?" "No idea." Jack replied. But they got good cosplay going. Jorik activated the stun array. We'll take them both. This is already a failed extraction. He fired. Nothing happened. The humans looked at each other, then back at the squad. Did you just point a flashlight at us? Jack asked. Suddenly, their vision blurred. Systems glitched. Craig screamed. A snowball hit him square in the face. Not just snow. Ice. Compact. Thrown at 60 kilometers per hour. The humans began laughing. Laughing. Gotcha. The second one yelled. Payback for last week. Jorik yelled. Abort. Full retreat. They ran. Humiliated, bruised, systems half-fried. The storm worsened. The humans gave chase for fun, but stopped once the wind picked up to dangerous levels. Back aboard the extraction pod, Jorik tried to wipe the incident from the logs. But too late. The council had already received partial footage via their auto beacon. Worse, so had other empires. The footage went viral. Humans, shirtless, in snowstorms, wrestling each other while alien elites ran in terror. The legend began to grow, but not everyone was deterred. The miry Dominion, known for their science and arrogance, sent a stealth drone to Earth disguised as a bird. It perched on power lines, recorded data, and even mimicked sounds. What it recorded made the entire Dominion reconsider first contact. A small human child screamed at a squirrel. The squirrel screamed back. The child chased it with a stick, and then laughed. Later, the same child picked up the drone, inspected it, and yelled, "Hey Dad, I found a weird robot bird." The drone self-destructed in panic. Word spread. Humans were not just surviving their hostile world, they were thriving. Not through technological superiority, but through sheer, stubborn refusal to die. When famine hit, they farmed deserts. When plagues hit, they quarantined and fought back. When disaster struck, they rebuilt. Again and again, stronger. Worse still was their culture. A council linguist compiled the most common human sayings. Pain is weakness leaving the body. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Go big or go home. YOLO. Species with logical minds couldn't process these ideas. They didn't seek danger. They avoided it. But humans flirted with it, invited it to dinner, and then challenged it to a drinking contest. The council called an emergency session. This planet, began Ambassador Lek, is destabilizing galactic philosophy. They're contagious, muttered another. Cultures are copying them. Indeed, revolts have begun. Slaves in outer colonies referenced human songs. Soldiers wore Terran slogans on their armor. Civilians traded bootleg Earth movies as rebellion fuel. One uprising succeeded after watching Braveheart. The tipping point came when a minor mining colony, far from Earth, detonated their own asteroid belt to block a pirate armada. When asked why, the colony leader answered, "We saw humans do worse, for sport." The council voted again. The Earth classification was upgraded. Not just most terrifying planet. Now, cultural contagion. Uncontainable. Ambassador Vel whispered, "They've never met us. Never declared war. Never fired a shot." "Exactly," replied Thurn. "And yet we're already losing to them." A silent pause passed over the chamber. Then came the final alert. One of Earth's long-forgotten probes had just crossed a relay point. Its signal was primitive, but unmistakable. A tiny golden record, encoded with human language, music, and greetings. It ended with a phrase. "To any who receive this, we are a young species. Curious, persistent, and we are coming." The council didn't sleep that night. The first human ship to breach the council's jurisdiction wasn't a warship. It wasn't even properly shielded. It was cobbled together in a dusty lab in Nevada by a group of government scientists, half-funded, overworked, and underprepared. It didn't break the speed of light. It punched through it by accident during a failed energy test. The ship, named Intrepid Horizon, blinked into orbit above a quiet relay station near Varnith Prime. The humans on board called it a miracle. The council called it an emergency. The ship was ugly. Welded panels. No symmetry. Engines humming with unstable power curves. The alien observers at Varnith gasped. "It looks like it's falling apart," said one technician. "It is falling apart," replied another. "They're flying junk. Through space." The station sent an encrypted distress signal, but the humans were already hailing them. The voice that crackled through the comms was enthusiastic. This is Captain Jonah Reed of Earth vessel Intrepid Horizon. We come in peace, also curiosity, excitement, and a bit of confusion. Jonah wasn't a soldier. He was a former Navy engineer turned science officer. He'd been chosen for the mission because he'd once fixed a reactor core with a wrench, duct tape, and blind hope. His crew included a botanist who grew potatoes in Martian soil, a linguist who spoke 37 dialects of dead human languages, and a pilot who learned flying from a crop duster grandfather. None of them expected first contact. When the relay station finally replied, it was automated. Please stand by. They didn't. They docked. The moment the doors opened, the aliens inside panicked. Sirens blared. Containment shields dropped. Marines locked down corridors. The humans walked through it all smiling, unarmed, and holding thermoses full of coffee. Jonah offered the first alien. He saw a handshake and chocolate bar. The alien collapsed from stress. A week later, a council committee debriefed the Varnith crew. What did the humans do? They asked. The answer? They wandered around, complimented our architecture, asked if we had spicy food, and took selfies. Selfies. They pointed a device at themselves to record their own expressions in hostile space. They weren't afraid. They were thrilled. Back on Earth, humanity exploded in celebration. Aliens were real. Space was real. And they had made it. Not with the best tech. Not with the cleanest methods. But they'd done it. The council scrambled. Do we blockade Earth? Do we erase their ship? Do we initiate containment? But they were too late. The humans were already talking, posting their journey on public bandwidth. First contact day, baby. Jonah said into the camera. We're not alone. Alien sociologists had warned of this. Humanity had no central planetary government, no unified culture. Any species prepared to contain Earth had already lost. Their strength was not unity. It was chaos. Unpredictable, unstoppable chaos. A week later, the council sent an emissary to Earth. They expected a sterile arrival ceremony. What they got was a welcome party. Thousands gathered at the landing site, waving signs, playing music, cheering. Someone had made t-shirts that read, Earth, Class X Deathworld Champions. Children posed with inflatable aliens. One human handed the emissary a taco and said, Try this. It's spicy. The emissary tried. The result was catastrophic. The footage of an 8-eyed diplomat coughing, wheezing, and crying as humans chanted, Chug, 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 was played across 6 sectors. It went viral. A popular council analyst posted a review that summed it up perfectly. They're not terrifying because of what they've built. They're terrifying because of what they don't fear. Soon, every major power had an Earth strategy. Some wanted alliances. Others lobbied for embargoes. But a growing number of species idolized them. Human culture spread like wildfire. In less than a galactic cycle, Earth music topped alien charts. Soldiers quoted human war movies. Civilians shared Earth memes. Even elite academies adopted phrases like don't panic and keep going. The award that once symbolized danger and isolation, the most terrifying planet, was reissued. This time as an honor, a symbol, a warning. Humans found out and thought it was hilarious. They made medals, stickers, baseball caps. One Earth company rebranded their entire marketing line. Earth, proud to terrify the galaxy since 2025. What the council feared most had come to pass. Earth hadn't declared war. It hadn't demanded tribute. It simply showed up and changed everything. Even now, decades later, new planets debate whether to make contact. Some species still whisper horror stories of a planet with molten rock, invisible killers, storms that tore mountains apart, and creatures that smiled through pain. Others tell stories of human engineers who fixed alien ships using chewing gum, of medics who treated wounded enemies, of kids who gave names to terrifying beasts like Snappy and Fluffy. But one tale is always told last. The tale of the Earth Girl. She found a broken alien beacon in her backyard. Thought it was a toy. She plugged it into her tablet, pressed buttons until it lit up, and accidentally sent a signal to 3 star systems at once. Her message was 3 seconds long. Her face lit up the feed. She smiled, waved, and said, Hi, I'm Lily. Want to play? That signal is still traveling, and the galaxy still doesn't know how to answer.